On this episode of the Oklahoma Breakdown with Ikard and Lehman, presented by Riverwind Casino, we bring you the latest OU football news. We talk Caleb Williams winning the Heisman, Drake Maye staying put, and we finish up with our winners and losers of the weekend. Please download and subscribe to the podcast, rate it 5 stars, and write us a good review. Follow the show on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. Just search Oklahoma Breakdown on any of those, and you'll find us. All right. Our man Michael Hosty will kick this thing off. It's time for the Oklahoma Breakdown. It's a beautiful Monday, December 12th, and you're listening to the Oklahoma Breakdown with Ikard and Lehman, presented by Riverwind Casino. Riverwind is Oklahoma City's premier casino experience, and there are so many reasons why Riverwind is consistently voted OKC's #1 casino, but it all starts with their amazing variety of gaming thrills and excitement. Riverwind's beautiful, award-winning environment plays host to more than 2,800 of the latest electronic games, with a huge selection of table games, including blackjack, match roulette, and Teddy's favorite, craps. No matter what your game, Riverwind has it in spades and hearts. And to learn more about Riverwind's gaming promotions and entertainment options in the month of December, all you got to do is visit riverwind.com. Riverwind Casino, simply the best. Now recording this Sunday afternoon. Please leave us a 5-star review and a nice comment while you are at it. And Ted, I have survived a children's Christmas party at my house. Oh my God.
Yeah, you had a house full, man. It was awesome. The decorations were wonderful. You always wonder though, right? Was it really all worth it?
So we had like 20 plus children at our house. What I think maybe the oldest was about 7 or 8.
Yeah.
And the youngest about a couple months. Like, so there was a wide variety of children at this Christmas party that my wife put together, kids' Christmas party. And I will say this, it's borderline unbelievable. Nothing got broken. There's like nothing is stained. I don't know how it happened, but we're good, man. We're all good.
Wow. Yeah, that was quite the party. That was awesome. Bunch of kiddos there. Like I said, the decorations were awesome. Santa Claus was fantastic. Perfect party.
For next year, because I guarantee you this is the thing now. This is going to be an annual thing.
It'll grow.
We gotta find a Santa with a better beard.
Really?
Excuse me, Santa. Because remember, kids listen to this with their parents. Santa needs, like, I feel like it's a couple weeks till Christmas, so maybe his beard wasn't to his full capabilities quite yet, which it was good, but I could tell he's got 2 more weeks of growth for that thing to really be in peak condition for Christmas.
It's an early playoff beard. By the time he gets to the Super Bowl, which is Christmas Day, Christmas Eve night, he'll have a full-on playoff beard that's been growing for quite some time. It'll be good.
Yeah. All right, that's enough of that. Let's get into the OU football stuff. And before we kind of dive into the latest OU football news, this is about the time where we start asking the listeners, like, hey, who do you want us to try to get on as guests, right? We want to try to get on people that you guys want to hear from, want us to interview. So just go ahead and tweet us. Give us all your suggestions. Don't feel free to tag people as well that they should come on. We'll definitely have, some of these players for Oklahoma that are moving on after the bowl game. We'll get to talk to a bunch of those guys on here, but we always are open for suggestions, Ted, and it's about that time we start working real hard to get some big time guests.
Yeah, no, it's that time. This thing's wrapping up. NFL non-playoff teams will be wrapping up before you know it. And we're getting close to off-season time, man. We're already I feel like whenever you're going to the bowl game, you've already got halfway into the off-season cold tub, right? You've already started basically.
That's definitely how it feels, especially with how bowl games feel now. It's like, right. Okay, when's the opener next year? That's kind of the mindset I'm moving into. But until this bowl game gets played, we're going to break it down, man. So let's start with some exciting news. Austin Stogner, your guy, man, your
Dockowski.
guy. He's officially coming back to Oklahoma after a year at South Carolina, and didn't have a huge year for South Carolina by any means. 20 catches for 210 yards and 1 touchdown this season for the Gamecocks. But Ted, I feel like the reason this is so important is all of a sudden a room that was very young and very inexperienced heading into next season, like, there's going to be a veteran presence in that room now, in that tight end room for Joe John Finley. And that's huge. Having an experienced guy that's played in a ton of games, has played in all kinds of different environments now. It's going to be really valuable to Oklahoma to have Stogner and his experience in that tight ends room and as part of that offense.
Yep. No, I totally agree. I'm not too hung up, and I've heard people question, well, why did he leave and all of those things. I'm not concerned about that at all. He wanted to come back. I think it was Stogner that initiated the thought process of him coming back to Oklahoma, which you like. The experience factor is the most critical thing, and it's interesting because naturally there's going to be comparisons made to Braden Willis, but they're really two different skill set type of guys. I wish Stogner would have been here this year because they're really the perfect complement to one another. Stogner's a little bit more of what you would consider, at least these days, to be a traditional tight end. He's an inline guy as a blocker, and he's a split out pass catcher. Braden Willis is more of a H-back that moves. You can move him across the line of scrimmage. You can, get him the ball in some more unique ways than just a split out wide receiving tight end type of guy. They're really the perfect duo, but we need a big body. We need easy completions over the middle. The one thing we've talked about is, we didn't have guys that were winning one-on-ones consistent enough, which means the mid-tier passing game, the intermediate passing game was really non-existent. Well, the 6'6" tight end with gigantic hands and a good ability to get open, that can really bring up the intermediate passing game quickly. So I like it.
I'm with you. And I do think, like, if you look at the roster currently, right? The tight end situation for him. Braden Willis has had a phenomenal season, going to be moving on after the bowl game. And then it's Caden Helms, who, while I think they're really excited about his athletic ability and what he can be as a pass catcher at that position, right? He's not a big, thick dude. Now he's a tall, athletic guy, right? 6'5", and I think he's probably, he was listed at 225. I would assume he's added some weight throughout the season working with Schmitty and all that, but he's more of a move tight end, right? So you look at Jason Llewellyn, who I think is more of your traditional Y tight end, some of the H-back stuff. Like he will certainly be a guy that's doing a lot of the stuff we've seen Braden Willis do out of the backfield this year. I would expect Llewellyn to be more of that guy, but it's a good thing that you don't have to force 2 second-year players out there on the field and ask them to do it all.
Yeah.
Because, and this is something we talked about in Jeff Lebby's offense, when you talk about the challenges mentally for players. Number 1 is quarterback. Number 2 is tight end. They ask a lot of those guys in the run game, shifts, motions, different formations, like all kinds of things. They have to know as much or more than any other player on the field except for the quarterback. So having Stogner come in and having an experienced guy who you would assume can adapt to the system quickly, like that'll be really valuable. And I think it also it allows Joe John Finley to put Helms and Llewellyn in good spots for them, good spots where they can succeed, as opposed to saying, okay, let's go see if he can get this done, right? Let's throw him in the deep end. You can work them in some spots where their skill sets fit a little better when you have a guy like Stogner that you feel like you can rely on in pretty much anything you're going to ask him to do.
Well, I agree. I agree. Now, obviously, Stogner is a fantastic pass catcher. He's 6'6". He's got good long arms. He's got gigantic hands. He's got good hands. He can catch well. Seems to have a really good natural feel for finding himself open, getting open. What do you think of him as a blocker?
I think that he's going to have a lot of fun with Joe John Finley this offseason. That's something that, listen, if Austin Stogner wants to play in the National Football League, he has to get better at blocking people.
It's awesome that you can bring up the tape and show him, like I don't know where Braden Willis is going to get drafted, but I think he is.
I'd be shocked if he doesn't get drafted with how well he's played.
Agree. And I think he'll make a team just by the way that he's, what things clicked and the way he started playing. It's a great asset as a coach to be able to say, because you're talking to a guy that has been around him, knows Braden Willis well, you can say, look at this film, look what he did whenever he started focusing on blocking, and look what it's done to his career. So I think that could help Stogner, just that alone, having that example to go off of.
No, I'm with you. And I just think that I do not expect Austin Stogner to come in here and catch 50 balls and have, 700 yards receiving. Like, I just don't think he's that type of player. What he needs to be is what Braden Willis has been for this team this year. Physical, tone-setting leader.
Yep.
That's what they need him to be. They don't need him to he's not going to turn into Travis Kelce. Like, he's just not. He's not that type of player. They need him to bring that leadership. And I've always really enjoyed the fire that Stogner plays with. They need him to bring that, and they need him to turn up the intensity and the physicality. Right? Yep. And if he does that, he's going to put himself in a really good spot to play professional football. But that is his path to an NFL career, is being an ass kicker. He's not going to be one of these guys that is, people are fighting over him to have them on their fantasy team. Like, that's not, he's going to make a career out of being a tough, hard-nosed guy that can win at the point of attack and can do some of the dirty work. Guys like that at the tight end position stick in that league for a long, long time.
Yep. Yeah. And he's, he doesn't run away from people, but he's got such good natural size that it's like, it's almost always feels like an entry pass to a player on the block in basketball. Like, you just throw it to the leverage side that he's got, and he's going to come in with it. And he's so big and so long that even if you're a safety that's in good position, you just can't make your way around him to get to the football. And plus, he's got those white gloves on. He looks like Mickey Mouse, where his hands look like they're half the size of his body. It's great.
Yeah, he does. We'll see if he alters that at all. But
throw it to the white gloves. You got to leave those on, man.
Yeah. Ultimately, you go, looking at next season for Oklahoma. And I know Cade McIntyre is in the 2023 recruiting class. They're excited about his athleticism and maybe what he could be as an offensive weapon. We'll see if Venables lets those guys keep him on the offensive side. We'll see.
He keeps moving weight the way he does. Like, he's going to find himself with his hand in the ground.
Yeah, we'll see. But what was looking like a very thin position next season, still, you don't have the depth you want at tight end, and I don't think Oklahoma is done trying to bring tight ends in. Like, I think that's a position group that with the way that they did some things with Braden Willis this year, like I think that they see the potential in having difference makers in that room, and they're going to want to continue to bring those types of guys in and grow those numbers. But you were going to have a couple guys who have not started a single game being your main contributors, most likely. And now you've got a guy that started a bunch of games and played a bunch of football in the Big 12 and in the SEC. Like it's a good thing. Yep. It's a good thing. Very good thing.
It's just funny to think, like, where would our offense have been this year if Braden Willis hadn't come back? Forget the Wildcat stuff against Texas. Like, I'm just talking like our everyday, everyone's healthy offense. Like, he did so much for them. I'm sure that's changed their whole opinion of how important the tight end can be to that offense. It was the glue this year.
Yeah. Very rarely do you feel like a tight end's like the vocal leader of the team.
Yeah.
And that's how it felt, right? Just being around that team. So Austin Stogner, he's coming home, baby. Welcome back, Stogner. Maybe let's try to get Stogner on to talk about it.
We need to.
I'd see if we can make that happen.
Because the story's really interesting. Like, we all know the injury, the Kansas deal, the infection, and how much weight he lost, and was just never the same player after that. For whatever reason, and I'm sure it wore on him emotionally and mentally. But I'd like to see, like, where is he physically? Like, what is there any lingering effects from that? Has he totally moved on from it? So I think there's a lot of stuff there to talk about.
Yeah. We'll reach out to Stogner. We'll try to, why did you leave us? And why are you coming back? 2-question interview. We could do it in 2 questions.
That's it.
All right. Some other news. Josh Ellison has entered the transfer portal. He is a guy that flashed last season and just a guy we didn't see much of this season. Was not a consistent part of Todd Bates's rotation there on the interior of the defensive line, and not surprised at all to see him jump in the portal. He's the type of guy that maybe he goes somewhere else and makes a bunch of plays, but yeah, for whatever reason, Ted, just wasn't much of a factor for this football team this year.
Yeah, and he was a guy in spring and early in camp they were talking about being one of their more consistent guys. He plays a little high at times, and he's not the most physical guy that they have. Like, his toolbox maybe isn't as full as some other guys, but they really loved the effort that he played with and the consistency. And I think that just slowly diminished as they put more and more on those guys, and they had to, learn more defenses, more blitzes. I think he just kind of slowly fell to the back of the line. But, he's a player that I think can go be a rotational defensive lineman at, some fairly good schools.
I'm with you. You wonder if he's the type of guy that, and I know there, and a lot of fan bases are like this, right? Everyone wants to know, hey, did the coaches ask you to get in the portal? Right? Some people calling it getting processed, weeding guys out, pushing guys out, whatever term you want to use. I don't know. I haven't asked, but Ellison is just a guy that he just really didn't. I was really surprised he didn't bring much of anything this season.
Yeah.
I don't know if they said, hey, maybe going and playing somewhere else is the best thing for you, but I've seen some people being like, oh no, there's the depth in the interior of the defense. I'm like, wait, what? The guy he hardly played. So that's where this is one of those situations where I look at it and say, well, and this sounds cold and heartless, but it's like, hey, that opens up a spot.
Yeah.
That opens up a spot where we were getting nothing from that guy. So that's just, yep. I mean, it's a simple numbers game, man.
It is. That's how it goes. And, here's the bottom line. The transfer portal is something that, like, I don't know that necessarily the players organized in like had that the demand of being able to transfer is something that they got behind, but nationally, it was just one of the things that continued to be, well, how come coaches can leave and players can't, right? Over and over and over. Well, here it is. And, one of the unintended consequences is, well, as there's more guys in the transfer portal, there's going to be more movement on and off of a team. And that's just kind of how it goes. But at the bottom line is, it's not a bad thing if some guys want to transfer. It doesn't mean that your culture is bad. Doesn't mean that the coaching is bad. It can just simply mean that, hey, I can read the writing on the wall here. I'm not going to play. Coach, I want to go somewhere where I can be a starter, where I've got another opportunity, where I can get, whatever it is. It's not always has to have some deep meaning to it. Can't just be simply, I want to go play some ball and I'm not being able to play here.
That seems probably like how it went down with Josh Ellison, right? With just how it didn't work out for him this season on the field. So wish him the best of luck, man. Hopefully he goes and makes some plays. Unless he goes somewhere where he plays against Oklahoma, then I hope when they play he doesn't make plays. That's fair, right? I could say that. That seems fair.
Sure, absolutely. Yeah.
Okay, one other thing. Several official visitors this weekend in Norman. Now, several guys that have been committed in the 2023 class for quite some time, but everyone seems very focused on two brothers that are currently in Norman on a visit. Dasan McCullough and Day. I think that's it. Day. Just Day.
Correct. Yep.
Day McCullough. Ted, I would say from the conversations we've had, the vibes are high when it comes to these two men and their possible future at Oklahoma.
Vibes are high. Whenever you get as emotionally attached to this as I am, you're setting yourself up for a deep heartbreak. Okay. But as of right now, it sounds like everything has gone well. This kid he's a game changer for our defense, man. Like day one on campus, probably the best player on our defense. So at a position of need, well, I say position of need. He's one of the best things about him is his position versatility. He can be an edge rusher. He can be a cheetah. If you had to, you could probably play him at inside, but, stand up edge and being able to come off the edge, drop into coverage, peel and take a running back man to man. The obvious comparison is Isaiah Simmons that Venables had at Clemson. Size-wise, very, very similar. I think Deshaun may be maybe a hair taller, not exactly sure, but he's not quite as fast. But he ain't slow. He's a 4.5 guy. So, and he's got his dad is a coach, running back coach, but still a coach and has been a coach for a long time. So you feel like he's grown up around it. He's been in it. Even as a running back coach, when you're teaching your little kids, if they're playing defense, how to give them the proper tutelage. So just the point is that I know he's only got 1 year of ball, but he's probably got more coaching than most kids coming out that like more legit coaching. So yeah, I'm hoping he comes. It would be a game changer for us.
Yeah. And you think about all of the issues defensively, right? That kind of showed themselves in Big 12 play. They did not do a good job of getting to the quarterback. And I know that a lot of these offenses in the Big 12, the ball is coming out quick, right? I understand that. And, with the quick RPO game, all this stuff that's at or behind the line of scrimmage in this league, I understand it's hard to rack up a huge number of sacks. I get it. but just from its, having some conversations, they feel like this guy can be one of the best pass rushers they've had in a while. So
he's got the best tools of anyone I can remember, except maybe, which I haven't set eyes on Deshaun in person yet, but
okay,
sure,
is it Deshaun or Deshaun? I've heard like 4 different things.
I don't know. I've been saying Deshaun because I heard someone else say that, but I don't know.
And I've been saying Deshaun because I heard someone else say that. So let's call him D for now. D.
Yeah, I haven't set eyes on him. He's taller than Obo. Now Obo had really long arms and had some good thickness to him. He seems like because he's taller and he's 225, he's going to be way leaner, but he's younger. He'll put some good weight on, but we haven't had a pass rusher that looks like this that I can remember at all. Right. I mean,
the best pass rusher. Benito was the best pass rusher we've had in the last several years.
Mm-hmm.
And he wasn't he like certainly wasn't 6'5". Like he wasn't
6'3". Yeah.
Yeah. He wasn't a super long armed, 6'5" guy. Like that's just not what he was. Now he was a hell of a college football player. He was doing some good stuff in Denver, but yeah, I'm trying to think of like Isaiah Thomas. He had, when you just looked at the measurables, he had the measurables, but he's a completely different style of player than this kid.
He's like a hand down D end, and this kid, I'm sure, will be lining up over the slot at times. So yeah, he's a unique animal that we haven't had through here very often, and especially whenever you combine that, it's not just a height and weight thing. You combine it with a really good skill set that you've already got a lot of good tape on, and you've seen it at the Big Ten level. So it's exciting.
I'll say this. I'd pay money to have a copy of Jerry Schmidt meeting this guy for the first time. Just, oh yeah.
That big dog.
Hey, big dog. I'll get you right. He's like an artist looking at a blank canvas.
Yeah. Well, there's a communication barrier whenever you first meet Coach Schmidt, because he's got the mouth covered and he talks fairly low to you, and it's almost it feels like it's almost in code, right? And if you're not familiar with the code, you may not know what he's saying. So, but yeah, he's got some special tools, that's for sure. And his brother, 4-star safety, who was, or I think still is, committed to Cincinnati, and obviously Cincinnati lost their head coach with Fickle, and you got to feel like he's kind of ripe for the flipping right now. So we'll see.
Yeah. Hopefully the coaching staff can finish the job, man. That's what we're hoping for. And no matter what happens, one way or the other, we'll definitely talk about it on here. So
that's right.
We'll see. Right. Now, one last thing, and I thought that I wasn't sure if we wanted to save this for winners and losers, but it was such a group experience for all of us that I felt like we just needed to talk about it here at the start. Baker Mayfield brought so much joy to all OU fans with what he did on Thursday Night Football. 98-yard drive, capped off with the touchdown to Van Jefferson with 10 seconds to go to beat the Las Vegas Raiders. We needed that, Ted. We needed that bad. We all needed it. And I felt like for the first time in a while, all OU fans were very, very happy all at the same time. It was a fun experience. I enjoyed it.
It was wild. I think Baker needed it too. It's interesting. I was watching, but for whatever reason, just kind of the way that Thursday Night Football has gone this year, I felt like I was the only person in the United States that was streaming Amazon Thursday Night Football, especially whenever what were they down 16-3, I think at one point. Like there's absolutely nobody watching this. That changed quickly. Like that first touchdown, like it was on fire. Like Twitter, everything was on fire with like, you got to watch this game. And you know, if I had $1 for every talking head out there with 98 to go and 2 minutes left that we're saying there's absolutely zero chance they do this, I'd be rich man. That was awesome to watch. It was cool.
It was. And I saw this from Elias Sports. The 98-yard drive that Baker took the Rams on was the longest go-ahead touchdown drive in a 2-minute situation in the last 45 years.
Is that right? That's crazy.
I feel bad for our man Plank that it was against his Raiders, but that was, and there were some great plays on that drive, right? The Skoranek catch was fantastic. A few dumb and maybe questionable penalties also called on the Raiders, but that doesn't change the fact that that was a shared experience that all OU fans needed after the way that this season has gone. We needed that. We deserved it. And who I believe is the most popular and loved OU player of all time delivered for us all. It was that was a blast, man.
It was great. And I'm glad there was a bunch of OU fans watching so you can see why you don't just always run press coverage, right? That's why. Because you can get beat down the field. It's a bailout, makes it easy on the quarterback and wide receiver. Now the quarterback's got to make a throw, and Baker dropped a dime. That was a perfect throw. It's also kind of funny. It just, which I mean, I'm not saying that it's all for naught, but we grind and grind over a week of preparation, right? You put all of this work into it. It just really shits on the narrative whenever a guy shows up 48 hours before, plays quarterback, and has the longest drive to win a game in 45 years, doesn't know anything in the playbook. You know, it's like, well, what are we even doing with all this practice stuff? Why don't we just go out there and let them wing it?
Just, coach, let's just wing it, you know? No,
Which
it was.
I would love to have the headset audio with what McVay, because you know he's telling him to play, he's telling him like what the read is, telling him like where you're throwing the football, because you know he doesn't know any of it. Like this could not happen pre walkie-talkie into the helmet era.
They said that because he had one practice, right? Mm-hmm. They said that they went over like some sequences of plays, like that he was comfortable with because he was cramming on the flight and all that stuff. But yeah, I imagine it was like Sean McVay just like playing Madden.
Yeah.
Like just stream of consciousness playing Madden, like out loud.
And that's the perfect guy you want for that role, right? I mean, I don't know how many other coaches would be able to. I mean, there's a bunch of good coaches. I shouldn't say that, but just his energy and like how detailed he is and how well he knows that offense
and how fast he can talk.
Yes. You know, like all of those things that was really cool to see.
I'm sure at some point, like NFL films, they'll come out with something like that eventually, because that was like the most surprising thing. That was like one of the, because Thursday Night Football, there have not been very many good games. All you have to do is just listen to how pissed off Al Michaels sounds now calling those games to know that they haven't had a lot of entertaining ones.
He said the schedule's been crap. Yeah.
But even Al Michaels was, I mean, he was into it. Everyone
what
was
he said
into
then, is this real or something like that? That was
great, man. Yeah, not good for the Raiders though. Remember, they were the one they lost to the Colts when Jeff Saturday took over. And now they are 0-4 when leading by at least 10 points at halftime.
Which is an insane statistic for the NFL.
Yes.
That's insane. As hard as it is to score points. Wow. Yeah, that's it, that has to piss off Raiders fans so bad to lose to a coach that was on the couch the week before, had never been a head coach, and to lose to a quarterback that got in town 48 hours previous. It's just wild.
That's got to be infuriating. Okay, we do have some breaking news as we're recording the podcast. Theo Weiss, he announced Missouri for Theo Weiss. How about that?
That's interesting. Yeah, I thought originally it sounded like perhaps it was going to be USC, is what a lot of people thought. But okay, Missouri, interesting. I'm trying to think, where's he from? Where's Theo Weiss from?
Texas guy.
Okay, interesting. Well, good luck to Theo. I think he's a good I think he's a solid kid. First of all, I think he's got some really good skills. He's a big physical kid. I wish him the best. I really do.
Yep. So we'll see how things go for Theo there. So going to be learning from Eli Drinkwitz, right? Head coach that cut his teeth as an OC. So we'll see how it goes for him. I wish him all the luck in the world, man. He's been a pleasure to cover, and just did not have the type of season that I think really anyone thought he was going to have. So completely understand him moving on, and we'll see how it goes for him.
I think he'll do well. I do.
I hope you're right. All right, let's get to call your shot. We asked you guys the most important thing that happened this weekend for Oklahoma football, and this first one comes from Boomer Bowtie, which love it. Said the visits most importantly, but Geyer losing so the Bowen drama can finally come to an end. So didn't Geyer, which is where Jackson Arnold is, where Peyton Bowen, who a lot of OU fans, if you follow recruiting, you have been following Peyton Bowen and what's going to happen there for a long time now, but they lost to DeSoto in the semifinals there in the Texas State playoffs. And a lot of people, I've heard our buddies over at Sooner Scoop talk about this quite a bit. A lot of people think Bowen was waiting for the season to be over to make his decision. He's still committed to Notre Dame as far as I know, but a lot of people are anticipating him flipping to Oklahoma. And now that their season is over, I guess, I don't know when you would anticipate that decision to be made by Peyton Bowen, but he is a very highly rated and recruited safety prospect that I know the Sooners staff are hot after.
Yeah. Yep. I think they believe he's the best safety in the country this year. There's a lot of reasons to feel really good about him coming to Oklahoma, but you never know. That rumor has been out there since all the way back in the middle of the summer that they got a really good shot at Peyton Bowen. So, still committed to Notre Dame. I don't know if it's going to be a signing day thing. I don't know if it's going to happen now pretty quickly since he's done with his senior season. I don't know, but the people that seem to know and are involved in that recruitment feel very, very strongly that he's going to end up at Oklahoma. Now, when that is announced or when it's done, no one seems to know that. But, I feel like there was a couple of roadblocks there previously that maybe aren't even there anymore, and makes you feel really good about Oklahoma landing him, which, by the way, 5-star kid. If you pull him from Notre Dame, that'll, for those who care what the recruiting class is ranked, which, I understand if you do, understand if you don't, but that would help our recruiting class ranking wise quite a bit.
Yeah, it would. And I don't stay on top of that as much as a lot of other people do, but I think that would put them somewhere close to the top 5. I'm guessing because they've been in the.
They're at 7 now, and I think that if they were to land him and land Day McCullough, I think it would get him into the top 5 because you're peeling Notre Dame is ahead of you, and you're peeling one of their 5-star prospects. So, I think I think without it, I shouldn't say without a doubt, but I feel very strongly to get you inside the top 5.
Yeah, and that kind of goes with this next one from Kim Pearman, who says, our coaching staff in countless living rooms. The build has begun. Let's go. I love that. The build has begun. So we've all seen the pictures of BV and the position coaches making the rounds, these in-home visits. And there's one thing I know about Brent Venables. He's going to impress in those living rooms, man. I mean, the guy is an electric factory when it comes to engaging with those prospects and their parents. So I'm just trying to figure out like what surprise is coming, because you get Venables in there, especially if he's like one of the last people that some of these prospects see. Like, my hope is that, we've seen some of these guys that are on the radar now. Like, my hope is that he can close on someone, maybe a couple guys that we didn't even have on the radar. That's my hope. I'm hoping he can do what he does best, Ted.
Well, I think one of the guys that may be would be like a Tassili Akana. It sounds like Venables has kind of been the leader on that recruitment. Like, he's taken that one on himself. And we saw that picture come out with them there, him and Miguel Chavis going to visit him. So that would be a big one, man. I don't think you land them all, just because that's the nature of how this thing goes. It's difficult. It's super competitive out there. But if you were to flip Peyton Bowen, land this Day McCullough and his brother, and get either Tassili Akana, or some people think that we still have a chance to get David Hicks, who's committed to Texas A&M. Like, if you could pull all those things off, man, you're looking really, really good.
I'll say this: it would make 6-6 feel a whole lot better.
It would.
It would.
I think that's what we're all searching for at this point.
I think that's fair. I think that is fair, but we'll see. Signing day right around the corner. So just
gonna be here fast.
Yeah, huge couple weeks down the stretch here for Brent Venables and his staff. Okay, let's get the birthday shout outs. Happy 22nd birthday to Seth Talladega Anderson.
Happy 40th birthday to David Proctor.
Happy 40th birthday to John Simpson.
Happy 61st birthday to Jimmy Wright.
Happy birthday to Austin Reed.
And happy birthday to Carrie Murdoch.
I received multiple requests to have Murdoch's birthday mentioned in birthday shout-outs.
Oh, that's great.
Had to do it. Love you, Carrie. All right, let's get to the National College Football Roundup. But first, the only place to stop when you're road tripping is Love's Travel Stops. Love's has over 600 locations in 41 states, offering 24-hour access to clean and safe places. Whatever your road trip needs are, Love's has it. Fuel, fresh food, all the snacks and drinks, including, yes, my favorite, Java Amore. That coffee is fantastic. Love's also has you covered if you forget your phone charger or headphones. They expanded their mobile to-go zone so you can grab any of that stuff there. Make sure you download the Love's Connect app for exclusive offers from today's most popular brands. The Love's Connect app also includes a route planner and store locator. When you see that red neon heart on the highway, stop in and say hi at Love's Travel Stops. For a full list of what Love's has to offer, visit loves.com.
Annapolis Clothing is the exclusive home for all of our Oklahoma Breakdown merchandise. If you want to live your life in buttery soft comfort, go to opolisclothing.com. That's OPOLIS clothing.com and use promo code TED, TED, for 10% off your entire order. Still get a discount on all the OU and OKC Thunder gear as well. That's opolisclothing.com. Use promo code TED for 10% off. Buttery soft and 10% off.
And make sure you send your kids to Bishop McGinnis Catholic High School. Bishop McGinnis Catholic High School represents a tradition of educational excellence in Oklahoma City. Grounded in a faith-based education, students prepare to meet their potential with an individualized academic path that strives for success. Bishop McGinnis offers a college prep curriculum that includes 22 AP courses. I went back into the old ad read that I still have memorized, and they changed it on me. That was weird. I went into autopilot.
Where is
there.
It? Where?
I was like, wait, what? Those aren't the words that that was. Bishop McGinnis offers a college prep curriculum that includes 22 AP courses, participation in OSSAA athletics, where they've won over 100 state championships, and numerous clubs and organizations for students to join and grow. If you want to provide the best possible educational and spiritual development for your children. See, I can do this part with my eyes closed. I've done it so many times. Contact Bishop McGinnis Catholic High School or visit bmchs.org. Remember, financial aid is available. National College Football Roundup, only one place to start. Ted, we're geniuses. Geniuses. And could tell the future. Went back and looked. We did an episode on October 17th, 2021. The title of said episode, OU-TCU recap. Can Caleb Williams win the Heisman? Nailed it, man. The answer is yes. Yes, he can. We nailed it. We knew this was coming. We knew well over a year ago this was coming.
What a horrible episode. Recapping that OU-TCU game and then discussing Caleb Williams winning the Heisman Trophy.
Yeah.
Well, it became apparent, obviously got some help, Hendon Hooker getting injured, like that felt like it was where it was going to go because of the year that he had and that Tennessee had. Caleb had the right games lined up there at the end of the season to really make a climb for it. And it was a weird year. And I don't mean this taking anything away from Caleb Williams. He was, I think, definitely the rightful winner. But it didn't necessarily feel like anyone went out and grabbed it. It's just like everyone kind of faltered and there wasn't really much of a choice left.
Yeah, it was like everyone finished poorly, and he was just so important to his team that they're like, yeah, let's give it to him.
Yeah.
And that's fair. And I'm not trying to take away anything from him. He was really, really good for them this season. I don't know how many games they win if he's not their quarterback, but it's a hell of a lot less than they did win.
No doubt.
I mean, he was spectacular. He becomes the 8th USC Trojan to win the Heisman Trophy. And man, that was a long speech though. Whoa. Now, and listen, you win the Heisman Trophy. You get to take as long as you want with the speech. Them's the rules. I am fine with it, but man, what was it, like 13 minutes?
Whew.
Now, I will say he thanked pretty much everyone he could thank, and I thought that was cool. I did. Thanked all the right people. Had a couple of jokes that landed early on, which I was like, okay, he's getting into the groove. Good stuff. But I didn't know if they were going to start to try to play him off like the Oscars, like, hey man, we got to get to commercial eventually. But it was, I thought it was a solid speech, covered all the bases. And then I'm a sucker for showing your O-linemen some love, man. That was cool. That was, as a former offensive lineman, that was a really cool moment. I thought that, and I know there are a lot of people that want to be very cynical about that. Don't be. Just accept it. It was really cool. It was cool as hell. And I don't care where the money came from that allowed him to be able to purchase the tickets for his own lineman. He didn't have to do it.
Right.
He did it. And he brought them all, and they all got recognized. They got to stand up during the middle of the Heisman Trophy acceptance speech. As an offensive lineman, that never is something you think you're going to get to experience. That was cool as hell, man.
It's the first time that's never happened before, has it?
No.
I mean, so yeah.
And people will say, well, it's NIL now and he's got the money to afford. Listen, I get that. But that doesn't change the fact that it was really cool.
Right.
Like that was a very cool moment.
Yeah. And here's the thing, man. And he understands this. And I'm not saying that this is necessarily why he did it, but like when you have individual FaceTime on a national broadcast like that, it's worth a lot of money. So you stretch it out as long as you can, especially if you're not up there making a jerk out of yourself. You got a good speech put together and you can recognize a bunch of people. Like that's 13 minutes of primetime television. That costs a lot of money. So you use it for what you can when you got it.
I'm with you. And he made the most of his moment, man. He just kept going and going and going. It was all good stuff. I really liked the stuff, talking about almost like speaking to younger kids, like, hey, if they're doubting you now, like you can do it, you can accomplish whatever you put your mind to. Like that was cool. Mm-hmm. It was cool. And I know that there's some people that are like, well, he only brought the O lineman because it's good PR. It's like, listen, I don't care. Yes, it's good PR. Yes, it's PR. Calculated. Everything that Caleb Williams and his family have done pretty much since he got into college, like it's like the bigger picture is in mind. Like they view him as a brand, and it's good for the brand to bring the O-line.
That's right.
It's also still very cool and an experience that, as far as I know, no other O-lineman has ever had.
It's good for the O-line that it's good for the brand, right?
Exactly. and it's good for him to have all those offensive linemen be happy going into next year. And I know some of them are moving on, but that's just good for overall business, man. It's good stuff. I liked it. So I get some people still feel a certain way about him and about Lincoln Riley, but I love the offensive line love, man. I really did. One confusing thing. USC, and this is the dumb stuff I think about when I watch these things. USC and Nike school. Caleb Williams rocking the Adidas and Gucci collab suit.
I saw that.
Could not have made the Nike execs happy. It may be a sign of things to come. Has he already signed with Adidas and we just don't know it?
It may be a message to Nike to break out the check, but then if that's what you want, let's go. I will say though, and I'm not
I'm a fitted suit guy. I know that the oversized look is like high fashion right now. It's not what I would have gone with.
Not even that, like the Adidas pinstripes on the suit pants just make them look like sweatpants to me.
It's fashion, Ted.
Yeah, I know. That's what I said. I don't understand it, but that's fine. I can, if people tell me that that's what's in, okay, I'm down with it. I get it.
Yeah. Lincoln Riley clearly was prominently featured on the broadcast. And listen, I know, I get it. But the man has been a head coach for 6 seasons in college football. 5 at Oklahoma, now 1 at USC. His quarterbacks won the Heisman Trophy 3 of the past 6 seasons. And Jalen Hurts finished runner-up.
Well, that's what I was about to say.
It's insane, man.
I think
it's insane.
I think of the 6 years, well, maybe he wasn't head coach when Baker was runner-up. So maybe it's 5 out of 7 years he's either won or had the runner-up there, right? Because Jalen was the runner-up and Baker was the runner-up the year before he won it, right?
I think that's right. And he was the coordinator there, but still, like, it's crazy.
You know what else is interesting? now that Caleb transferred to USC, it's still all transfers, which is interesting. Like, I don't think that takes anything away from his coaching ability or recruiting ability. Obviously, he recruited Caleb from the get-go. It's just get used to that in college football, that when your quarterback wins a Heisman Trophy, there's a good chance that it's going to be a guy that transferred from somewhere else, right? That's just kind of the nature of the sport now.
Yeah. And last thing about the Heisman, Max Duggan coming in second is just awesome.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, from second string to start the season to finish in second for the Heisman Trophy.
Incredible.
And his team's going to the college football playoff. Like, I feel like we haven't focused on just how wild his story, and they did a really nice job on the broadcast of the Heisman stuff, really pulling at our heartstrings for Duggan. It was good.
He's got a great
it.
story. That's the one thing, and I knew it wasn't going to be enough. There's just too many voters out west, and there's been so much pent up demand out there for something to rally around football wise. But like, he had the Heisman story that they love to pump up and write about. It was impressive. I think that they can do some damage in the playoff. Like, I know Michigan's a really good team, but the threat of him running the football is something that Michigan hadn't seen a whole lot of, especially combined with the other skill talent that they got. It's going to be fun to see how it works out.
Yeah.
And he's got another year, right?
Yeah, he can come back.
You think he will?
I don't see why not.
Yeah.
Especially with, NIL stuff. Like, you have to assume that, he can talk to whoever he needs to talk to, and like, he'll get taken care of and probably be making some pretty damn good money next year playing quarterback for TCU, I would assume.
Yeah. I have no idea what his draft grade would be.
I'll say this. He's got all the intangibles you want in a quarterback and a leader.
Yeah.
I mean, he does. Now, does he have the strongest arm? No. Is he the most accurate guy ever? No. But guy's a damn football player.
Yeah.
We haven't seen him quite be the battering ram this year.
That's
like we've seen the last two, but
he's a big physical runner with a football. Like, he will require a mindset change whenever he goes to the next level. Right. Those guys do not last long in the league if you don't slide and get down.
Yeah. But as far as being a competitor and being like a good locker room guy, I think he could stick as like a second or third string quarterback, especially with his mobility. Every team is interested in having mobile guys at the quarterback position. I would not be shocked if we look up 10 years from now and we're like, wait, Max Duggan's on his fourth team, but he's been in the league for 10 years. Like, he could be that type of guy.
I could see it. He's going to be a sports trivia question a decade from now. Who finished runner up in the 2022 Heisman Trophy race, right? As he's inserted as backup quarterback in week 9 to go out and try and beat the Broncos or something.
Yeah. I will say, I'll always wonder what the voting may have looked like if TCU was able to get it done in the Big 12 championship game.
Yeah.
Especially if like Duggan goes diving into the end zone to win it or something like that. I'll always wonder. Now, it didn't work out that way, and congrats.
He went diving into the end zone, all right, but they did not rule it a touchdown. It's crazy.
Yeah. So we'll see. We'll see what it looks like for TCU in the playoff. That game still a couple weeks away. We'll break it down when it gets closer. Okay. One thing I wanted to talk about, because I think it's great for college football as a whole. Drake Maye is staying at North Carolina. And he posts a picture on Twitter. The caption read, "Could never leave this place. I'm a Tar Heel." All North Carolina fans, I assume, breathed a significant sigh of relief. I assume Mac Brown did the same, because the rumors had really picked up once North Carolina's former offense coordinator, Phil Longo, he left for Cincinnati or for Wisconsin and to join Luke Fickell's staff. And a lot of people looked at that and went, oh, well, is Drake Maye going to follow him to Wisconsin? Like, is he going to go to the highest bidder, enter the portal, go to the highest bidder? Right. He got recruited by Bama. I think he flipped from Bama actually to North Carolina as a recruit. So there was all these things being said, but he comes out and said, no, I love playing here. I'm staying. A bunch of family ties to the program. And I'm just really glad, man, because I'm glad that a guy of his caliber, who some people think that he can challenge Caleb Williams to be the first pick in the 2024 NFL draft. I'm glad a guy of that caliber was like, no, I'm good. Now, I'm sure North Carolina's taking care of him. Don't get me wrong. But I just thought it felt very healthy for the sport for him to stay put, if that makes sense.
I agree. 100% agree. I like that decision. You know, it is interesting to think like what he would be capable of at one of those programs that has the insane amount of talent that they'd be able to surround him with. Like, very few times did Drake Maye go into a game with, you know, the best offensive line, the best skill guys surrounding him. You know, he did a lot of that stuff on his own. You know, if you have a dominant offensive line, it changes things massively for a quarterback. But all that being said, I love that he stayed, and you would think that should give North Carolina a boost in the transfer portal for receivers, skill position guys that want to come in and be a part of an offense that should be able to do some really good things next year.
Yeah, that was one of my thoughts as well when I saw the news. I was like, it went from what would have been a catastrophic situation for North Carolina to maybe the best recruiting tool imaginable.
No doubt. Yep.
Like, hey, Drake Maye, yeah, the guy that everyone thinks is going to be the number one draft pick here in the next draft, he wants to stay here. He doesn't want to go to Bama or Ohio, wherever. He wants to stay at North Carolina. I mean, you're Mac Brown and that staff. You got to be using that out on the recruiting trail, and that's for your recruiting class, but also guys coming in from the portal, like you mentioned. Like, it's massive for North Carolina, but I'm really glad, because I do think there are some guys that just jump into the portal, and I don't blame these guys because it's the way the system is, right? It's how it works now. But there's some guys that jump in to see what offers they get, and I was just, I don't know if that feels like when you're talking about star players, especially star quarterbacks like Drake Maye, that feels like it would take college football down a very, I don't know, unhealthy path. I don't know. I was really, really glad he made the decision that he made.
Yeah, no, I agree. It's while the transfer portal is somewhat a positive for college football, I don't know if there's positives about it. There's negatives too. I mean, it's weird to think that anyone on any team can be a free agent at any moment and go anywhere in the country they want. And that naturally lends itself to the best teams, the best programs continuing to be able to add the best talent. And right, there's a reason you can't do that in the NFL. Like, they want the talent spread throughout the league, right? That's why you have the draft. That's why, you know, there's a way to order the draft picks, and you try and keep it as balanced as you can. And college football already does not have a balance of power. And if stuff like this were to continue, like, this is like to try to maintain some type of parity. So I agree with you. I think it's a good thing.
Yeah, it would have been so deflating for him to be like, yeah, I'm jumping to the portal and going to Georgia.
I know. Yeah.
I think not only would it have been deflating for North Carolina's fan bases, but there would have been a lot of fan bases across the country going, oh my God, like, we could be next, you know? And I'm very glad we avoided that situation.
Do you think Tennessee their collective donated a bunch of money to North Carolina's collective to keep Drake Maye from going to Georgia?
I hope so. Whatever they gave is worth it, man, because that dude can sling it. And
Yep.
no, we need Drake Maye in Chapel Hill. We don't need him down in Athens. They got enough dudes. They don't need that guy.
That's right.
We want this to be somewhat interesting, there to be some mystery when it comes to who's going to end up winning these national championships. Okay. Only thing I have left in the National College Football Roundup. There was a game this weekend, and I watched just about every snap of it because I don't know, there's nothing else to watch. And Army Navy, the pageantry of that game's so cool.
It is. Yep.
I mean, it is the stuff before the game, watching those teams run out. Like it just feels different than every other college football game. And I love it. Like, my disdain for the triple option. I think it's a tool of Satan. I think it's like the most boring thing to watch ever, but it doesn't keep me from watching these two teams go at it every single year. And it's always an incredible jersey matchup. Those Navy helmets were so sick. But Ted, the first pass didn't get completed until 10 minutes to go in the fourth quarter. It was a painful watch for me, but I enjoyed it anyways. Overtime, baby. Overtime.
Yeah. Well, first completed pass came within 10 minutes to go in the fourth quarter, but you got to the fourth quarter in like 45 minutes. That's the beauty of it.
That was the fastest first half ever.
I know.
I don't know if anyone keeps that stat. I was like, oh my God, it's over.
Remember whenever we played Army, it was like everyone's watching the clock going, oh no, like the game's disappearing. Where's the game going right now? Yeah, I think it's awesome, man. It's a throwback. It's, you understand, like, it's just, I don't know, all of the stuff around it, but just like whenever both teams are doing something similar like that, I think it makes it a lot better. It becomes less of keep away. Like whenever they're playing an up-tempo offense, it's, they're playing a game of keep away out there. But yeah, this is fun, man. And I guess Navy's getting a new coach, huh?
Yeah, I saw that. Ken Niumatalolo won't be back for 2023. Had a ton of success there at Navy, but the Naval Academy looking for a new head coach. I thought that this was, when they were talking about it on the broadcast, I was like, is that right? It was the first time they'd ever gone to overtime. And they had played like 132 times.
Yeah, well, they didn't even have overtime until like the mid 90s. You ended in a tie.
Which,
that style.
I'm getting enough of that with the World Cup.
I know.
Or I got enough. Now they actually make someone win, which is nice. So I enjoy it more.
The style of play that they have every year lends itself to what you would think would be a lot of overtime games, right?
You would assume, but I will say the overtime, like the majority of the game was boring. I'll just say it was boring. It was great, but it was boring. That overtime was exciting as hell. what first play overtime? What Markel Johnson rips off a 25-yard touchdown run. That place was going nuts. Then Navy hits him with the play action. Didn't even see it coming. I think that was their first completion of the game to tie it up and send it to double overtime. And oh man, I felt so bad for Anton Hall from Navy. Fumbles going in to the end zone of that second overtime. Oh, just a brutal way to lose a football game.
Tough. Yep. Man, you hate to be, you like to win and lose as a team. And I know they did, but you hate to have like that moment, right? Where everyone could say, no, we didn't lose this team. You fumbled the football, right? That's what you're trying to avoid. It's like, you don't always necessarily try and win the game. You just try not to lose it, right?
Yeah, that's one that Anton Hall's going to think about for for a long, long time. But last thing on this game, first Army Navy game where the over hits in 16 years.
Man, you want to really torture yourself? Bet the over in that football game, right?
Could you imagine?
Oh my God.
What sickos bet the over in Army Navy? Now, I don't know what the odds were, but I assume there was some juice on the over, and sure, why not?
It's like that's a living room pacer right there. It's like, what are we doing, guys? It's 3rd and 12. Throw the football. What are we doing right now?
It was fun though. It was fun, always fun. I love watching that game, even though I hate the triple option. I really do, but I love watching that game. All right, let's finish up with our winners and losers of the weekend. But first,
it's football time in Oklahoma, people, and there's nothing better to drink at the tailgate than Clubby Seltzers. Clubby Seltzers is an Oklahoma company that is already winning national awards because their product is delicious. It tastes exactly like a club special, but it's a seltzer. And they're not just for the tailgate either. They're perfect to drink on the golf course, by the pool, after mowing the lawn, whatever. And if you haven't tried Clubby Seltzers yet, go grab some. You won't regret it. The first variety pack is out. They got some new flavors in there. They've also got a new can. If you want to find a place near you that has Clubbies, visit clubbyseltzers.com.
And attention business owners, you need Insurica in your life. Insurica is one of the country's largest insurance brokers with 30 offices throughout Oklahoma, Texas, and the Southwest. Insurica is able to customize programs by accessing the latest information from many insurance carriers. They compare and contrast coverage offerings and pricing in order to design a cost-effective, comprehensive program to meet your business's specific needs. Insurica's clients become best-in-class businesses by working with Insurica's team of advisors to manage risk. Purchasing insurance is only one way to protect your business. Best-in-class businesses win by avoiding a loss in the first place. If your business partners with Insurica, you'll save huge amounts of money and take back control of your total cost of risk. I'm an Insurica client, and you should be too. If your business wants to be best in class, connect with Insurica at Insurica.com. That's INSURICA.com. As always, Ted, kick us off. Who do you have as your winner of the weekend?
I got to go with Brandon Moore, former teammate, former roommate. I consider him to be a mentor. He was a senior whenever I was a freshman at OU, and then he had a medical and came back and played in 2001. Was a Sam backer for us. Was awesome. Had a good NFL career. Then we played together later as well. We're roommates again. Love this guy. He's a first-year head coach at the Colorado School of Mines. Was their defensive coordinator previously, got the head coaching job, actually interviewed for the UCO job here in OKC. But first year head coach, he's got the Colorado School of Mines Division II playing in the national championship next week. Awesome. They beat the number 1 overall seed a week ago. Angelo State went down to their house, beat the hell out of them. And then they just ran through another team at home, and they will be playing, I believe, Ferris State, who's the defending national champs. They'll be playing them in McKinney, Texas next week for the D2 national championship. What an awesome year. Their quarterback, Colorado School of Mines quarterback, was up for I think it's called the Harlan Trophy, which is the D2 Heisman Trophy. I think the quarterback from Ferris State's the one that won it. So you're going to have those two teams going at it. It's going to be awesome, but I'm so proud of him in year 1, taking that team to the national championship. It's really cool.
That is, I'm relatively confident that's the first Colorado School of Mines reference in the history of the podcast, but that's awesome. So year 1 and just taking the squad to the national championship. No big deal.
No big deal. He's obviously got a really good quarterback, which it's an awesome school, by the way, that I didn't know of until he started coaching there a couple years back as the linebacker coach and D coordinator. It's in Golden, Colorado. Coors family helps fund the program. They're a well-funded Division II school, just beautiful, one of the best engineering schools in the country, and it's just so fun to see him have a ton of success there. Really, really cool.
That is awesome. I won't lie. One of my favorite activities is to try to predict who your winner and loser are going to be. Stunned you didn't go with the Lions. I mean, now I didn't know a former teammate of you was doing such big things. So
Right.
but I was pretty shocked you didn't go with the Detroit Lions after them putting it on the Vikings.
They smoked the Vikings. Smoked them.
Dude, are the Lions like good? It seems like they're
I don't
good
know.
now.
It's hard to tell, isn't it? We're so there's such a the muscle memory with the Lions lends you to believe that anytime something good happens there, it's a fluke. It is not going to last. But I don't know, man. Dan Campbell he's an awesome dude. He's infectious. I don't know. They're fun to watch, man. They are. And what they've got, don't they have another high draft pick this year?
Yeah. Remember, they've got the Rams pick from the Goff
Rams
trade.
Yeah, that's right.
So they have won 5 out of their last 6, with their only loss being Buffalo when they kicked the last second field goal to win it.
Yeah.
I think the Lions are good.
They're playing some ball now. Good defense. Aiden Hutchinson's been playing good up there on the D line. And threw it to Sewell, right?
That was awesome. Nothing like throwing game on the line. You're trying to ice the game not on the line, but you're trying to put the game away, right? You're trying not to have to punt it back to Minnesota, and you somehow get to a boot concept where you're throwing it to an offensive tackle in the flat.
Hey, you got to take
advantage. And then he just belly flops on the ground after the first down. It was incredible, man.
You got to have your draft picks making plays out there, right? They go with Sewell. Which how's he been? Is he done good? Is he?
Yeah.
You go with Sewell, then you add another defensive lineman, or you add a defensive lineman in the next year with Aiden Hutchinson. Good things happen when you build a team from the inside out, and my guess is they're going to continue to do that. I don't know. Maybe they'll go quarterback, but Goff seems to be doing pretty good for him.
I'm with you. I am with you. It's fun to watch the Lions succeed. Fun to watch. Now, who do you have as your loser of the weekend?
Had to go OU men's hoops.
Oof.
Took a tough one there, but that's a really, really good Arkansas team. They're top 10. I think they're number 9 in the country going into that game. Had the lead through a decent part of the first half. The BOK, I know that's in Tulsa, but that's an Arkansas venue, man. They have been filling up the house. It was heavy Arkansas fans there in the BOK, but yeah, couldn't get it done. You heard from Porter Moser at the end of the game. Turnovers, second chance points, points in the paint, points off cuts, didn't take care of the basketball. And we've got to have more guys play well in an atmosphere like that. So, they did some good things. They shot the ball well from 3, but they didn't have any answers for Arkansas in the paint.
I am not a basketball expert, but Arkansas's guys looked much more athletic than Oklahoma's guys, especially in that second half. You could like that. Nick Smith, like the length he had, the bounce he had, the council guy.
5-star freshman out there, right?
It's like you could just see the athleticism, the length. And this was the thing for me is like, as I watched again, like everything seems really difficult for Oklahoma when it comes to generating offense. And meanwhile, Arkansas, it was like layup, dunk, layup, dunk. It just seems like it came on the offensive end. It just came so much easier to the Razorbacks than it did to OU's guys. And not saying that OU's guys didn't put up a hell of a fight. They did. But that's a that's an Arkansas team that just overall has a lot more athleticism than what Oklahoma's got from what I saw.
Yeah, there's been people throw it out that Arkansas is going to be a Final Four team this year, which the SEC hoops wise right now has got it going on. What you got Arkansas, Tennessee, and Alabama, all three in the top 10. Plus you got Kentucky. It's like at 15 or 16. SEC's got a good basketball conference going right now.
Yeah, but I was really excited watching the first half. I was like, oh,
let's go.
Maybe they can knock off the top 10 team, but the lack of athleticism is what stood out to me. I will say I did like what we saw from Sherfield for the most part. Like, it wasn't perfect, don't get me wrong, but I thought a guy that is supposed to be like the go-to guy for this team, you mentioned the atmosphere. I felt like he stepped up in a lot of different moments, hit some nice shots.
Dude's still shooting like 55% from three this year, which, I've got to imagine that he's going to come back to the pack at some point, but he's still putting up some numbers, putting up points. But you're right, like the athleticism in the front court, and when Groves took that horrible final foul call, that kind of did us in there.
Yeah. All right, let's get to my winner and loser. But first,
First Fidelity Bank is a full-service financial institution based in Oklahoma with tailored solutions for all your personal and business needs. Checking accounts, saving accounts, home loans, and much more. They do it all. Whether it's online banking from your computer or mobile banking from your phone, everything is stress-free with FFB. Making mobile deposits, paying bills online, and moving money to different accounts could not be easier. First Fidelity Bank provides free ATMs worldwide, making banking convenient wherever you are. They also give back to the community. FFB donates a total more than $500,000 to local charities and educational foundations. Make your life easier and go bank with First Fidelity Bank. Visit ffb.com for more information.
And if you're a whiskey or bourbon drinker, stop what you are doing. Head to your favorite liquor store and buy some Balcones products. You got to grab some of Balcones Lineage single malt whiskey. It was voted one of the top 20 whiskeys in the world by Whiskey Advocate, and you'll be shocked by how affordable it is. Also, you got to snag some of Balcones Baby Blue Corn whiskey.
It's made from blue corn. That's the fancy corn.
And that is why it has won more than 25 awards. Last but certainly not least, you got to buy some of Balcones Pot Still Bourbon. Its big flavors make it the perfect bourbon to drink year-round. Remember in 2012, Balcones Single Malt won the Best in Glass competition, beating brands like Johnny Walker and Macallan. This stuff is the real deal, people. If you love great whiskey and bourbon at a great price, then Balcones products are the only way to go. The whiskey may be made in Texas, but the owners are from Oklahoma. To find a liquor store that has it, visit balconesdistilling.com. All right, for my winner of the weekend, thought about going with penalty kicks, man. We got some good World Cup action.
No doubt.
Over the weekend, some insanely late goals in stoppage time, injury time, whatever the hell you want to call it, that ends up forcing penalty kicks in some of these games. And, two of the quarterfinals come down to PKs. Croatia, Brazil, Netherlands, Argentina. And I will say this. I absolutely love the suspense of penalty kicks. There's a ridiculous amount of time in between the penalty kicks, and the drama and the suspense just get to build. It's fantastic, Ted. It's must-see TV.
It is. That the Croatia-Brazil game was just incredible. How all that went into the extra time, obviously, and ended up in the PKs. It's a lot of fun, man. It really is. I don't know why they don't force a game to a resolution. I guess they don't want them to have to play those super long games, but after watching that, you feel like you're really being robbed whenever some of those games end in a draw, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, absolutely. And like, I get so nervous for each guy. It's like, oh my gosh, if he kicks it off the post, the entire country's going to hate him. Oh my God. Like, there's so much on the line. Like, I don't. It's different here because soccer isn't the show in this country. You know what I mean? Like it's not the main thing. You just got to realize like these guys are the most famous guys, most famous athletes in their country. Like, and it's all on the line on these penalty kicks. The pressure just has to be insane. I love it.
Have you ever taken a penalty kick?
I'm sure I did when I was like a little kid, but no, if recently, no. And I'd be worried for multiple uh muscles in my leg if I had to take one. But I'm pretty sure I'll say this. I would be the guy, hey, step up, take it confidently. None of the like creeping around the ball and trying to play mind games. No, I'm hammering that thing and putting it in a corner. Good luck stopping it, nerd.
I used to pound it like 100-mile-an-hour rocket directly at the goalie because they're guessing one side or the other, and I would just rip it straight at them, and it was successful. It worked.
Good. I like that technique. I like that strategy.
It was good.
But
it's fun though, man. I agree it's one of the best ways. It's a great overtime. I don't know that there's any other sport that really it's totally different than anything else.
I think we all wish that the games could just be decided during regulation, right? But out of any sports overtime, like it's by far the best.
Because everything else, you just basically continue playing. This is like a totally different thing, right?
Yeah.
It's like if basketball ended on like a 3-point contest or something. It's
just like one-on-one.
Right.
Yeah, just like games of one-on-one, right? You pick your best defender and they have to guard the other guys one-on-one. Like it's awesome, man. It really is.
I agree.
But my winner of the weekend, the Philadelphia Eagles. Whew. Damn.
Yep.
I mean, they look
they're
good.
A machine right now.
They smacked the Giants at MetLife 48-22, moves the Eagles to 12-1 on the season. They controlled the entire football game. I mean, they came out, punched the Giants in the face. It was 21-0 in the blink of an eye. And I was like, okay, this game's over. And they did not call the dogs off. They just kept scoring and scoring. But the Eagles defense is one thing. I thought that they played really well for some stretches. And, the Giants have some offensive limitations. That's no secret. But that Eagles offense, man, the way that O-line is playing, the way that the running game functions, with a guy as explosive as Miles Sanders, and then Jalen Hurts adding what he adds as a runner, especially down in the red zone. Hurts has become just a fantastic deep ball thrower now, whether it's Devontae Smith, that touchdown he had to him. There was a little luck involved in that one. Safety kind of jumped a little early, but he's finding A.J. Brown. He's awesome. Ted, I never thought he'd be this. Like, he's playing out of his mind, and the Eagles are an absolute problem, dude.
Yep. No, they are. He's clean, he's efficient, and he can run the football, but he's not Cam Newton, but he is a large, physically impressive, durable runner of the football, right?
This is the thing about him.
Stuff. Yeah.
This is the thing about him for me. He would be, if he wasn't a quarterback, he'd be playing in the NFL at another position.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's how well built and athletic he is.
Yeah. No, I agree. You just, there will come a time where you worry about his durability, and he's had that ankle issue. Seems like he's moved past that. But other than that, the dude he's an impressive physical specimen that, you can have him factor into the running game. And in the NFL, whenever it changes the dynamic really quickly. And, that's why it's so hard to play defense in college football is a lot of it has to do with the quarterback run game. And in the NFL, whenever these offenses roll around where the quarterback run game is a big factor, it's tough to stop, man. It really is.
Yeah, the Eagles ended up rushing for 253 yards,
which is like a college equivalent of rushing for 500 yards, basically.
Yeah, it's
that is rare to run for 250 in the NFL.
That is a massive number that is going to have a lot of people in the New York Giants organization very sad. So, Hurts, he's got to be right up there when it comes to front runner for NFL MVP. I mean, the guy is playing fantastic football. For my loser of the weekend, thought about going with Mike White. That man was in a couple car wrecks against Buffalo. I mean, and give the guy a lot of credit. Showed a ton of toughness, coming back a couple times in that game. I think his teammates are going to respect the hell out of him for getting back out there after a couple of those hits he took. But, dude, he got absolutely blasted a couple of times. And hits were as legal as they could be, man. But he got smoked. It was the ultimate example of, oh, you want to play quarterback in the NFL. Okay. This is what it can look like. I mean, that offensive line was doing him no favors, dude. Like, he was getting rocked by that Bills defensive front. Oh my gosh.
It's funny that he came back in the game. It reminds me of the because I happened to watch it this week, the Jeff Brom XFL. How are you coming back in the game after a hit like that? Let me answer that by asking you two questions. Is this or is this not the XFL? Yes. Do I or do I not have a pulse? Yes. Let's play some football. Is that what Mike White interview did? Have you ever seen that hit?
Yeah.
He looks dead.
The guy would be out for like at least a month now.
At least.
And he was back out there. Just a lot of things have changed for good reasons.
He came back on the sideline in that game with the neck brace on. It's great.
But yeah, so great job, Mike White. But man, that looked painful. That did not look fun. Also thought about going with the Tennessee Titans. Got smacked by the Jaguars. And we talked about the odd move last week of them firing their general manager, and they did not play well. You can't turn the ball over in the National Football League. That's one of the few times I've seen Derrick Henry just absolutely get rocked and fumble the football. That I feel like that doesn't happen to him very often. But what they lose the turnover matter 4-0. That's how you lose to the Jaguars at home.
Yep, that's it. That's brutal. Rarely, if ever, in the NFL are you gonna forget 4 turnovers to 0, but rarely do you lose it at all. 1-0, 2-1, whatever it is. It's hard to lose the turnover battle and win in the NFL. If you lose at 4-0, you might as well walk off the field at that point and go home.
Yeah. So a disappointing performance from the Titans, but my loser of the week, and it's just because we've talked about how important this stretch is when it comes to recruiting and the transfer portal and getting your team ready for the bowl game and all that. So I've got Mississippi State as my loser of the week. Do you see this stuff about Mike Leach?
No, I didn't, honestly.
It's
not shocking though. He hasn't sounded good recently.
Yeah, he's had that cough and that whole thing, but I guess, it sounds like a pretty scary situation. So Mississippi State released a statement and they said that he had a personal health issue at his home on Sunday. They ended up transferring him to a hospital in Jackson via ambulance. And that's really all the information that's been given, other than their defensive coordinator, Zach Arnett. He'll be running things until Leach is back. But you talk about a bad time to have a health issue, man.
It is.
And first and foremost, let's hope that Mike Leach is just all right, right? We don't know how severe this was, what happened. Is it a heart thing? We don't know. But this is a crucial couple weeks in the college football calendar, and to have your head coach laying in a hospital bed instead of out recruiting and trying to do all those things, like that's rough, man. This the timing. It's never a good time to have an emergency medical event that you end up in the hospital. Never a good time for it. But this, from a college coaching perspective, is an awful time for this to happen to Mississippi State's head coach.
It is. It's not good. Yeah, this is whenever the typically the head coach is, some of the busiest he is all year, going out, seeing recruits, hosting visits to transfer portal guys coming into town. Obviously figuring things out for whatever your bowl game may or may not be. Yeah, it's super busy. You need your guys active. But you're right. Like I hope he's okay. Has not looked healthy lately. And I don't know if there's been something going on like long term, or if this is just something that hit him surprisingly. But yeah, that's it's not good. Hope he's okay.
Yeah. So all the positive vibes and prayers Mike Leach's way. Seems like a scary situation, but some awful timing as well. On that note, a happy note. That's not a happy note. That's I don't know what. Episode 274 in the books. We'll have a new podcast that'll drop Wednesday. Just a reminder, you can hear Teddy from 3 to 6 on 94.7 The Ref. You can hear me 2 to 5 on Sirius XM Big 12 Radio, channel 375. Hope you all have a great week. And until next time, we appreciate y'all for listening. Do what you always do, Oklahoma. Take care of each other.